Imagine the scene. You're sitting waiting for an Uber when a Volkswagen camper van turns up with the same number plate as the one that you're waiting for. Now, instead of getting in and having small talk about the usual stuff you talk about in an Uber, you have a genuinely inspiring conversation about mental health, about a non-profit surf community that meet on the beach every Friday morning with an extraordinary man. Now, that is exactly how my great friend Ed Sunderland first heard about One Wave, and it was him that reached out to me and said, you guys have got to get them on for the podcast. Now, I'm thrilled to be joined by the co-creator, Sam. Thank you so much for being here, Sam.
Thanks for having me.
First question is an obvious one.
Yeah.
Were you the Uber driver?
No, I wasn't the Uber driver.
The search goes on. I will never know who the hell this guy was. Someone.
So it was some just independent Uber driver that just knew about it.
Yes.
And Uber drivers get talking.
Exactly.
If you're open to it.
Someone with a VW camper van Uber driver is spreading your
Track
message.
him down.
Yeah. We need to find him.
That's really cool. I really like that story.
So
actually.
cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
How you doing today, Sam?
Yeah, I'm good. Real good.
Yeah.
This weather's been nice change after a couple of weeks of rain.
I know, thank God.
It just brings out the best in everyone, you know.
I can't imagine what your sessions are like on the beach if it is raining or
it's
windy.
hard. Yeah. I remember like a couple of years ago, I was with this girl, Lena, who is from Finland, and she's been part of the One Wave community for a long time. And it was like one of those days where the sand just feels like ice and you can't feel your toes anymore. And we had to walk up to halfway along the beach where the waves were a little bit better. And while I'm walking along there, my head is just going, it's fucking cold, it's fucking cold, it's fucking cold. And I wanted to complain to her, and I knew that like that complaining just doesn't get you anywhere. I've just got to get through it. And then I realized, hang on, she's from Finland. This is probably like a mild summer for her. And ever since then, I've been able to go down to Fluro Friday in the winter. And I just put that idea in my head.
Just put yourself in a Finnish mindset.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Because I was thrilled to join you last Friday for my first ever One Wave Fluro Friday. And I can genuinely say it was one of the most welcoming, supportive, and life-affirming things I've done since I've been in Bondi.
Wow.
I just loved it.
That's
it's
awesome.
Such a special community and such a special atmosphere. And it's a lot of fun. You know, people probably don't realise actually it's a lot of fun. And you laughed a lot, you share a lot, you make friends at it. You've obviously been doing it since 2013, right? So can you tell us how you, as a nightclub manager, met a tequila brand ambassador called Grant, and that meeting proved to be the genesis of One Wave?
Yeah, when you start looking back on it, every time Grant and I say this, it's like, wow, how has time flown and how did we get here as well? I guess to put some context to it, how I met Grant, I was working at a nightclub in King's Cross, just a little one, and managing there, and he came into the bar, and he was a brand ambassador for a tequila brand, and he'd throw down a case of tequila onto the bar and just said, "That's for you. You can have that. Just no strings attached."
So he was popular.
Wow, this guy's awesome. Anyway, that's kind of how we met. That's one of the moments that we met. But to put context to it, I was running a surf school during university. Just for something to do, really, and something to meet other people. And throughout that period, I started to realize that the act of like learning to surf with other people is like quite a bonding experience. And I think it's because, we had people from all over the world that would come in, join the university, and then look for like a society or something, some kind of group to be a part of. And my mate was tapped into that, and he realized all these people, they just want to surf, let's do this for them, let's have a good time while we're there. We brought all these people together, and these people that have like an element of loneliness, and they're distant from their real family overseas. So you put them together and get them surfing together, and it's a little bit scary, but it's also really exciting. And as you're learning something new, you're kind of sharing that experience. And ever since then, I've realized that there is this just add water, rapport building nature to surfing. And so through that, they'd like come back at Easter, every Sunday they'd be at Easter with their like bunny rabbit ears on. Let's do an Easter egg hunt. I'm like, okay, go for it. these people that hadn't met each other for not very long, and all of a sudden they want to create this community around surfing. The same at Christmas hats and Santa Claus.
So dressing up was always a part of it.
Well, no, like it happened to be in it, but the dressing up part came through inspiration from Grant for sure. So that was kind of what was going on, and at the time I'm like, wow, this is cool, and it was like quite a successful surf school for what it was. And the options were like, what do we do with this? Like, there's just more people than we can accept on that Sunday morning. So what do we do about it? Do we try and get more volunteers? It was all volunteers as well. It was all just people who were not too bad at surfing, willing to be a teacher or be someone that's out there in the surf just watching other people. And we thought, okay, well, let's just combine this with some sort of good cause, And I had a friend at the time who was studying law and doing a lot with refugee kids, and I thought, maybe there's something there. Maybe we can bring this good vibe, like this whatever it is, into the lives of people that have come here from other countries and just a bit kind of on their own, very on their own. Thought about that for a little while, talked to my mate, and it just looked like there was so many political barriers to trying to get that happen, and I just thought, that's going to be really hard to do. It might not work with what we've currently got going on. And then after that, I'm like, what else could it be? And I thought, what is it that's so intrinsic about surfing, and why do people do it? Really, why do I do it? It's for happiness. I really surf because it makes me happy. I've always thought that I can go out there, since I started surfing, I've always felt that I can go out there in the world and I can have a crack at things and maybe fail at some things, knowing full well that it won't matter because I can fall back into the safety net of just being a grom, going to the beach and surfing, and I'll be full to the brim. Yeah. I'm sure, I think everyone's got something similar to that. Maybe for you it's like some kind of hobby or passion, and we've all got that to a degree, but this was just I think the surfing thing is so profound, and it already comes with its own community. And I think that's one of the core parts of our happiness is a social connection. So surfing on its own is this incredible experience. You're in the sun, you're getting the vitamin D, you're in the ocean, you're keeping fit. It's a place where you can express yourself creatively. If you look at all the different turns and that sort of thing you can do on a wave, there's all infinite amount of ways that you can express yourself in and then so all of that together, I thought, that's a safety net. I don't need to succeed at anything really big because I can have a crack and fail and come back to this and I'm fine. This is great.
And what was Grant's input? Was he also a surf man, or did
that's right. So that was probably just before I was finishing uni, and then got to fast forward about 6 or 9 months after I finished uni, and met Grant in the club. And so the nightclub is a place where there's a real kind of, and that nightclub scene, there's a real over-representation of happiness. A lot of high fives and smiles, but once you've been there for a while and you're seeing the same people come in and out, and you're starting to get to know people rather than just their first kind of flash, as a manager of a small kind of club, you start to realize that there's much more behind it, and people can put on these facades and they can seem happy on the outside, but really they've got feelings, they've got these other complex feelings. It's not just oh, that was a great shot that sort of thing. And so I found it hard to really connect with people in that environment, whether it's workmates or just other clients that have come in. And then Grant comes in and he throws this case of tequila down, says, "Hey, I'm Grant," and he says basically that's just for you. Do what you want. He was doing an amazing job being the marketing manager for this tequila brand, because he created this little campaign of going to all the surf events and doing a lot of partying with all the surf events. So it was doing really good for his company. His company loved him. His colleagues were really happy with the work he was doing. I was stoked as the bar manager because it's okay, there's a whole case of tequila, we can serve it up. All the other people in the bar were really happy. And so it's just this energetic breath of fresh air, when I started to think about all the other people and that I was kind of working with and that sort of thing. And so we kind of just clicked for very similar reasons. He'd surfed since he was young. He was just a really kind of down to earth and grassroots kind of person, you know. And so we were able to click and kind of became friends pretty quickly in a couple of weeks just at the club. And then, yeah, and then one day he kind of just fell off the face of the earth. I just stopped seeing him. And it was probably about 4 or 5 weeks, 6 weeks after that. Got an email from his work saying, you know, super sorry about what happened. And I'm like, what? That's like nothing happened. He just, you know, stopped coming. And I'm wondering where he is, you know, what's going on. And and then fast forward maybe a couple of months, maybe 5 or 6 months. Well, it was a while ago now, it might have been a couple of months. I was back at the surf school teaching people how to surf, and I was like pushing someone into a wave, and I see him coming out, paddling out on his surfboard, and he was like, and it was like, oh mate, there you are. How you going? What's going on? He was like, what happened? And he said, yeah, I just I got sick and had to go to hospital. And at that moment, we didn't really get to talk much in the detail of it, because I was teaching someone to surf, and he was on his way out, and there's waves going everywhere. It turns out, so months later, we caught up in Bondi, and I just saw him walking down the street. I'm like, hey mate, there you are. What's going on? And we caught up and got a beer, so it turns out he went through like a manic high after like quite a few years of struggling with mental health issues. He was always struggling with mental health issues for depression, anxiety, but then a doctor put him on to some meds that was not quite right, considering his there was like bipolar in the family, so it wasn't quite the right meds, and ended up sending him high. And so that meant 3 or 4 days in a row, probably I think it might have been on a weekend as well at the club, of no sleep and just like a lot of partying, And when someone's in that place, they can everything looks okay, like it just looks like they're really high energy. They're not they're not a problem at all, and then in that place. But then often for people, what can come afterwards is the aftermath, and it might be like a couple of months of a real big low. So he went back to New Zealand just after a couple of weeks after I'd met him, kind of thing, to recover. And it was there that his dad kind of encouraged him like day after day to get into the surf and go for a wave, because that was what he liked since he was young. And
his dad had also suffered with bipolar, right? So this was
a sort of
that's right. Beautiful way for them to talk through it whilst out at the surf.
Yeah, well, he didn't go out in the surf with him initially. I think it. Yeah, I guess I see them both now, and over the last 8 years, they've got such a strong relationship, and I guess that probably does play into it a bit, that connection. Yeah.
So that's where the connection from the mental health and the surfing came, right?
Yeah.
He used surfing as a medication, effectively, to help him.
That's right.
Find his love of life again.
Yeah, and while he was in hospital, he saw all these people around that were in there for mental health reasons. And at first impression, he got in there and thought, oh, this is really intense. They're crazy, and that's what we used to say for this sort of thing, a decade ago, 15 years ago. But very quickly he found that, hey, these are actually just normal people that you would meet in the street. These are people in your school, or people in your work, or whatever it is. And so from that point onwards, he really wanted to do something about it and show people that it's okay, and that we don't have to judge people that way. So we caught up months later, and he told me that he was looking to try and do something for mental health, based on his experiences in the hospital and what he'd gone through. And he was also a part of that that kind of surf marketing campaign. So I think in there, combine all of that, and that was kind of the core of what he wanted to do. And we caught up, and I said to him what's going on. He told me his story about what happened to him, and that's when I saw him in the surf. We just didn't get time to talk about it, but he and then we chatted, and I talked to him about my experiences and with the surf school, and I thought there's something else here, there's some kind of rapport building thing, and he told me about his experiences. And then and from there the kind of light bulb went on, and one wave, and then months later he ran down to the beach, because early days we had no idea what to do, we still most of the time don't really know what we're doing. So he ran down to the surf, just kind of out of
frustration,
how do we get this message out there? Ran down to the surf in a tie and a shirt, and someone captured him on film of him going down a wave, serendipitous, this photo. It's just it's an awesome photo. And it was like the one time that he ever did it, you know, and happened to get captured by Aquabumps.
Oh, perfect. Like, yeah, the most popular
80,000
photographer.
Subscription, yeah. So that photo went out, and then not too long after that, he had some zinc on his face after an Anzac Day, and someone said, well, what's the zinc about? And he just responded with, oh, it's Fluro Friday. And then that was when Fluro Friday was kind of born.
Yeah, so the Fluro Friday aspect of One Wave is the bit where your previous jobs come as less of a surprise, right? The Fluro Friday, I think for a illness that is so rarely talked about and cannot be seen, that is like the perfect way to combat it, right? The dress code, for anyone that doesn't know, is dress up in as bright colours as you can to sort of emphasise the fact that we're here and this is what we're about. How did you guys come up with that? Was it just that
was the
zinc
moment
story?
Yeah,
that was
it was
Anzac
just
Day.
like a serendipitous accident that he had some zinc on, and someone an Anzac Day I think it was, and he said, well, and he just responded, oh, it's Fluro Friday. And then because we were kind of thinking like, how do we get people together, you know, for those like months leading up? How do we like, you know, what's next? And he did that, and then that was where Fluro Friday was kind of born. And then week after week, the numbers just grew. He was down there, and then before you know it, there's like Fluro Fridays popping up in Byron was the first one. It's like this person had found out about it on social media, and I should probably talk maybe a little bit about what Fluro Friday is.
Tell us.
So Fluro Friday is basically it's a get together at 6:30 a.m. You get down to the beach. We dress up in like crazy fluoro gear, animal suits, onesies, whatever you can find, and we go surfing basically. But just before that, we'll sit around. Now, years in the first couple of years, it was pretty unstructured. It was just kind of a chance for us to talk about like what we're trying to do with this mental health thing, you know, and then from there, provoke a bit of a conversation around it and provide a place where people felt safe and kind of happy enough and like high energy enough to talk about something that's always been such a somber tone, you know. And with all like the animal suits and fluoro and everything, it just kind of feels okay to talk about something that's quite serious. And then shortly after, or like a couple of years after, it eventually like turned into like a circle, an anti-bad vibe circle. So we sit down and we'll chat about mental health issues. It might be like people opening up about their personal struggles with mental health. It might be people talking about others that they have supported with mental health issues, close ones. Or it might just be like a general discussion on what the hell is mental health, you know, because like we haven't really figured that out, you know. It's something that we hardly used to not really say much. So when you like stop saying something and stop articulating an idea, you lose a kind of sense of what the hell it is, you know, and we can't share that. So that's what that anti-bad vibe circle is about. It's a place where people can feel free of judgment and know that it's okay to not be okay, and that we can go through these things alone. And then after that, we get a big group photo because everyone is looking so amazing with all the their surf gear on, but also fluoro and everything. And then go surfing because it's out in the surf where people can kind of just like hang out and free the funk, and that's the whole message. One wave is all it takes. Sometimes when you're going through a rough patch in life, all you need is just that one wave, and riding that one wave to make you feel just a little bit higher, just enough to give you some perspective on the things that are going on in your life. One person said it to me years ago. She said, the thing about one wave is, the thing about surfing is it kind of just puts you beyond yourself. And this is someone that's like just learning to surf. And so I think ever since then I've thought, that's what it is. Like it might not do anything for you like fundamentally for your mental health, but in that 1 hour that you're out there surfing and catching a wave, you've left all of your like problems on land for just a moment, and it gives you a little bit of respite, and it somehow like allows your mind to be creative, I think. And you can start seeing different ways, you know, you see, look in a different perspective. And coming back onto the beach after that surf is when you can start talking about it. And there's something about being in the ocean that really grounds you. So you come back onto the beach and you're sitting there just like stoked with those waves, the sun's out and everything, and you feel a whole lot more connected to the person you were just surfing with or whatever.
Well, I love the phrase that you guys have got for that saltwater therapy, which I think for anyone who's ever lived by the beach or look at the ocean every day, or swims or surfs or whatever, can totally understand that. Just getting in I got in for probably 4 seconds after our session last Friday, and I felt $1 million afterwards. I think people can relate to that. But I think any great idea is often extremely simple. And I think the more simple the idea, the easier it is to spread.
Yeah.
One wave, we meet on the beach, talk about mental health, we surf.
Yep.
You know? And as a result of that, it's been able to spread. I think it's done over 200 beaches worldwide now, including regular meetings, UK, America, France, New Zealand, loads of them in Australia.
It's crazy to think.
And they've been attended by, was it over 20,000 people to date?
Yeah,
I'm sure that's an estimation, but 20,000. Last year, famously, it was attended by royalty.
Yeah.
So you guys had Prince Harry and Meghan come and join you for a Fluro Friday.
2 years ago.
2 years ago, was it?
That's Corona for you.
2 years ago.
2020 just
Yeah,
zooms
2020 doesn't
through.
count. 2 years ago. I remember the day.
Yeah.
How did that happen? And what was that day like for you?
Yeah, that was like, there's only one word and it's surreal. How did it come to pass? Actually, it was just a message that came into us. Like, no one reached out to them. We got a message from New South Wales Premier Cabinet saying, hi, we were wondering if we could come down. We might have a guest that wants to come down. Do you mind if we come down on Friday? And it's like, yeah, sweet, no worries. Like, just like anyone else that messages in saying, how do we come down? You know, it's 6:30 and Friday, just come down. You don't have to dress in fluoro if you don't have any, but it would be good if you could. Simple. And we didn't think anything of it. Then there's three like older ladies came down, like in kind of what they might have worn to work, and they worked for government. It was
an exciting scarf.
Yeah, and we didn't really think much of it at the time. You know, we just saw them come down, and like you said earlier, inclusive. I guess one like acronym that it's kind of bounced around in my head ever since the start is like positivity, inclusivity, community. So it just felt like we were just including them, and that's probably, you know, just ran as per normal, you know. And then weeks later, they were like, you know, we totally forgot about them. Weeks later, they were like, oh, we were just wondering, you know, we really liked coming down. Thanks so much for having us there. And we were just going, who were they again? Like, you know, it was just like any other day. And we were wondering if we could bring that guest down. We still have to, you know, it's not confirmed just yet. And we're like, oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Were you guessing names at this point?
Yeah, like maybe Justin Bieber or maybe Snoop Dogg. And and then it started to get more formal. We got another messaging coming like from outside of Australia maybe, and like, what's going on? Like, this is getting pretty crazy. And then it was like a guessing game between Grant and I, like, who is it? Do you reckon, who is it? And then we were told who it was, and we were not allowed to tell anyone. Oh, that's hard. That was so hard. Once we heard, Grant called me, he's like, guess who it is? I'm like, well, who is it? Like, Jay-Z, what is it? And he said, Prince Harry, and I'm like, nah, you're joking with me, because he's always like being cheeky, making stuff up. But he was like, he was honest with this one. And then it was like so hard to not tell anyone. We was, you know, we thought, it's royalty, like we have to not tell anyone. We've got to keep this secret.
How long did you have to keep that secret for?
It was probably about 6 weeks or something.
Oh,
yeah, that was hard.
Well, you were saying during the sessions, you guys should come to the one on 20th of March. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, that's it. And then maybe 4 or 5 weeks out is when they said, okay, like, it's, you know, this is the date. What we need you to do is invite like 40 people down, down to Fluro Friday on that day. There'll be, you know, a couple of other times when people from England are going to come out and check out the scene just to make final checks. And then maybe 4 weeks before it happened, we had like 12 people, like 5 of them were just we were just kind of standing around on the beach. There's Grant and I with our shoes off and like shorts on, maybe a singlet. And there's like 12 of these people with like 5 of those people were like sunnies on, big guys in like a business security. And there's like all these like gentrified people, and we're like, whoa, what is this? What's going on? We're in deep water now. No shoes on, like shit. Yeah, and I guess they liked us, and they liked what the beach was and everything, and what we told them what One Wave was all about and how we'd like to conduct it as well. And weeks later, we had to tell 40 people. You know, we had to like select 40 people from the community. Yeah, that was the hardest, tough, right? The hardest challenge of the entire 8 years, and I'm sure it'll be the hardest choice to come still. Choosing 40 people, like how do you do that, you know?
organising a wedding list at the moment. Tell me about it.
And because we've based like the whole community and the whole message on inclusivity, and everyone is welcome and everyone is like valid and that sort of thing, how do you go about telling people you're not worthwhile? And of all of the contributions people have made to OneWave, like over the years, whether it's doing this, like making an interview to help broadcast the message, or it's taking a photo, or it's coming down to a Fluro Friday, like that's 2 or 3 hours of their time, week in, week out. Or like people have done so much, like got us interviews and all that sort of thing, television interviews, and done heaps of work for OneWave with its websites. And we were like, how do we go and tell people that they're not able to come down? That was the hardest. So we were like thinking of all sorts of different ways of making the decision, talking back and forth in cafes, like with the laptops going, what if we say just this person and not that person? Have we got a reason for that? Like how do we justify that? That's hard. 2 weeks before it actually happened, we had to choose. They said, oh, actually we've changed the plan, it's only 20. And I'm like,
oh no.
So those people that know that they're coming and feeling good about it then have to get cut again. But luckily, like we said to them, like, this is really hard for us, I don't think this is fair to the community. So we had like 20 in the circle where Meghan and Harry came down, and we just did a regular Fluro Friday, so dressed up down there talking about mental health issues for 15-20 minutes, and then we had another group over to the side doing some yoga, and then ended up like we all just kind of gathered together and all met and got to talk, so it was sweet in the end. And
it's worth saying that Bondi being so populated by Brits, there were, I remember being on the beach that day, there must have been
barricades,
30,000 of us.
Apparently there was like a perimeter of cops, and there were like 3 meters between each cop, and it was probably like a good 200 or 300 meters.
I've never seen anything like it.
Weird.
And you can't hear anything. You just saw them walk down the thing and then sit in a circle, and then you're like, all right, that was that then.
Yeah. But no, it was so awesome. What Prince Harry said, which we'll never forget, is that vulnerability is actually a sign of strength, not weakness. So hearing him talk and chat about his own personal struggles in the circle was just like so inspiring, and such a reminder for the community that, you know, what we're doing is really important, and we need to kind of keep it up. You know, it's not something that will just stay there now. Like, you actually need to continually put energy into like communicating to people and to society that it's okay to not be okay, and that, you know, we all go through tough times, and it's a sign of strength to be vulnerable about those things in the right, you know, just do it in the right circumstance. And
you kept in touch? You guys still mates now?
Yeah, we sent him a couple of messages. We told him we'd teach him how to surf, and like the look in his eye was like, I would love to, but my keepers,
amount of security also in the water.
My people are like, I can't. And it's like, we're going to wetsuit for you. No, he hasn't responded to our Insta messages yet. So, anyway.
He's busy.
I guess so, yeah.
That's amazing.
No, it was really good and just surreal. And then seeing like all of like his team also be really stoked with the day, and they were like, this is one of the like funnest events and best events that we've had to do. Just shows that when you can connect with people and when you can be vulnerable and open, everyone's just so much more like happy and just like in a warmer place, you know. It's just that connection, that true open connection with other people. And I guess it just radiates out, you know.
For sure.
And that message just keeps radiating out into society, and that's what we've got to kind of keep doing, you know.
Like you know, all the hands they must shake and things they must do.
Oh,
that was before one of the most.
So
exactly.
I didn't have to think
exactly
about
Zoom
that.
high fives. I can't imagine anything more enjoyable for them than doing that one. I think that message of inclusivity is so important. I know I'm probably not the only one that feels this, but I've always felt that as someone who's not suffered from mental health to the degree of having to medicate or being diagnosed or anything, I've sometimes been worried that, would I be an intruder if I go to a meeting like OneWave where people have struggled and, you know, are battling this? Am I an outsider? You know, am I out of place? Am I wrong to be there? And I can say that if anyone has also thought that, you couldn't be more wrong. I could not have been more wrong. It's not about that at all. What the message of OneWave is that I picked up on is it's not just people sitting around talking about their struggles with mental health. It's something so much more important than that, so much more beautiful than that, so much more selfless than that. It's actually people sitting around talking about ways they can help each other out. You know, sharing tips, sharing tricks, sharing advice. And I think that actually people who have suffered from mental health have got a superpower. Which is that their words, based on their experiences, are so much more hard hitting. Like
Yeah.
they mean so much
Yeah.
more, you know, because they
a
know,
deeper
you know,
knowledge.
they're
Yeah.
the patients that become the doctors.
Yeah.
No one knows
Yeah.
more than them.
Yeah.
And I remember sharing my experience at the session was that the only time that I've really struggled with my mental health was when I was going through a breakup, right? And when you're going through a breakup, all of your friends give you a lot of advice.
Yeah.
Either it's bad advice or it's awful advice for the most part.
Yeah.
But for me, the best bit of advice I got was from one of my best friends, Ollie, who has suffered with his mental health the whole time I've known him. And what he said to me was, you'll be okay because you're much stronger than you think you are. We all are.
Mm.
And that coming from someone that I know doesn't think of themselves as mentally strong meant it massively resonated,
Yeah.
and I've never forgotten it. And I've shared it with people who've also gone
Mm.
through similar things.
Yeah.
And I think what you guys have done is given those guys a platform to help each other, you know,
Yeah.
to be truly compassionate
Yeah.
to each other. And people that want to help and want help can go there, and
Yeah.
it's like the perfect hospital, you know, like the
Yeah.
perfect place to help
Yeah,
everyone
yeah.
out.
I have to correct you. It's
Go on.
not Grant and I that have created that
No.
place. It's the people all around the world, you know, all these different people that have said, I want to create this like environment. I want to create like a different like understanding mental health in my neighborhood, you know. And it turns out, just like your friend gave you advice, like this infinite knowledge is actually in us all. So it doesn't take much for us to be okay to start digging into it with others and search through it and start like giving it to other people. I've sometimes thought of like the one way of communities as little universities. You know, we're building a library here. Every Friday when we have these talks, you know, we're slowly like stacking information on top of each other. Aristotle, I think it is, said philosophy, like ideas and philosophies are never new, they're just forgotten about, and you have to rediscover them. So I think, yeah, like we've all got the ability to find out how to help other people. We just need to be given permission. You know, given permission to talk about mental health and given permission to be vulnerable and reach out to others. But yeah, like the inclusivity. So one way of remembering it is the 4 S's: surfers, sufferers, survivors, and supporters. Yeah. Is like who One Wave is for. You know.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
I remember you saying actually, yeah, people in terms of people that support it, it's not just people that can attend the sessions every week. There are people who've never attended a session who support in their own ways.
Yeah.
You guys have done the Fluro sessions throughout Zoom. People can chip in and you know see what it's like from all over the world doing that.
Yeah.
And it's just built this enormous community of support and happiness.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're not going to take any credit for it, but thank you anyway for setting it up. Thank you for letting people join it and be so inclusive and help other people's. And thank you for joining us on HAC Chats.
Thank
as well.
you so much, Hamish. It's
Not
been
at
really
all.
good. Yeah.
And if anyone wants to support them, you are on winewaveisallittakes.com. One Wave is All It Takes on Instagram, and you can look on their website and find a beach near you that's hosting these Fluro Fridays every week.
Yeah, come get frothy.
Come get frothy. All right, thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.